Making money trading is impossible unless you start to understand what's driving the market, geopolitics, macro data such as the inflation, central bank, or labor market. This is definitely what I'm gonna teach you today. How to adapt to the context, how to trade the Middle East conflict, how to trade the macro data, how to trade like a professional with my institutional process. So this is some of my example here. The first one is about the geopolitics. You know exactly what's happening in the Middle East, right? The US, Iran, you get a new headline every 5 minutes. But this is part of the context, and this is your job to adapt to the context. So, for example, we received this news earlier this week from Al Arabia, okay, who say that the 60-day period between Iran and US has been extended. So this is quite positive, right? And look, this is a market reaction. The gold went up. There is no manipulation. There is no liquidity grab. The gold is up because of this headline only. And as you can see later on, the market doesn't really care about it. So this is part of the noise. Second example is macro data, especially the Austrian employment change and the Austrian unemployment rate. Same, you have the market impact here. Boom, the Austrian dollar is dropping. There is no manipulation. It's because of this data. This is part of the context. Same. Another example with another macro data in the UK, especially the consumer price index, the CPI. 2.9% as expected, and you have a two-way direction, up, then down on the first minute candle. And then GBUSD push higher, and you can see the live reaction on the chart as well. It's because of this headline. There is no manipulation, there is no liquidity grab, it's not completely random. There is a reason for that. It's all about the pricing, it's all about the expectation versus the reality. So this is just 3 examples. Now let me show you how I trade the UK CPI. Because the question you probably have is, okay, I can as well access to Prime Terminal to check the real-time headline, but how can I turn this headline into a reputable process to make smart decision and make money? Because as a trader, you're here to make money. So this is the CPI, okay, 2.9 versus 2.9. So let's say it's basically as expected, right? And you have the live GBUSD reaction, and there is a two-way price action. You have the high of the first candle and the low. As you can see, it went up, then down, and then we push higher. But I trade this news. 3 minutes later, you got a full analysis about it, okay? Update later on, let's say 12 minutes later as well, okay? So you better understand the full reaction, the full meaning for the economic situation in the UK and all this kind of stuff. And below, you as well have the reaction. Less than 7 minutes later, you have the two-way price action, blah, blah, blah. So they tell you that basically you have the above forecast core metric. Okay, we're talking about the core inflation, not the global one. Okay. And it was countered by inline headline. Okay. And then needs and services CPI. GBUSD tilted modestly higher shortly after. So this is exactly why I trade GBUSD. This is my trade on GBUSD. Easy money, basically. And I execute my long position basically at the low of the first candle. You remember it went up, then down. I just wait for the market to go down. And I was like, okay, there is no real reason to short basically GBUSD because it's as expected and you still have a quick acceleration compared to the previous one, 2.6 previously, right? And then it was quite easy because the trend was still bullish on GBUSD. So making money trading this news was not really difficult. However, I didn't want to risk 1%. Why? Simply because usually when I trade the news, it's 1 for 1 or 1 for 2 for the risk reward, right? And risking 1% for this one, it was just too much simply because it's not really clear. It's not outside the range. It's as expected. Still, the trend was bullish. The GBUSD was going up. The US dollar was still struggling at that time. So it was just a quick catalyst to push GBUSD higher a little bit and take advantage of it was not really difficult. And that's exactly why this is a quick in and out trade. Easy money. Now you have the choice. Why did I choose to trade GBUSD? There is a reason for that because of course I could have traded GBGPY, GBIUD, GBNZD or even RGBP for example. Why did I choose GBUSD? Well, it's very simple. If you look here, you have the currency strain, okay? And this is the UK CPI resist. But if you look before, the GB experienced a kind of uptrend. It was the complete opposite for the US dollar. It was going down. And you have the reasoning here, okay? You have the USD downside explained as well with the market analysis at that time. And then after the UK CPI release, the USD continued to push lower. However, the GBP went up a little bit. Not that much, but still enough to take advantage of this news, okay, of this macro data on a short-term period for a scalping. So this is for scalpers. This is basically how you can do it. Then of course it's all about the interpretation. There is no magical stuff, magical indicator, right? However, this is part of a repeatable process because I trade that way, but I can also teach you all to trade that way. This is one of my French student results this week, not 2 months ago, this week. And he made basically plus 2.5 air, but he only risked 0.5%, okay, not much because this is the first execution, right? We need to go step by step. So in total, it's like plus 1.5% in 2 trade. Really good, 100% win rate as well. Really, really good. But he basically lowered the risk due to event trade because again, trading the news like that is not for everyone. It's quite complex and difficult because you constantly need to adapt to the context and you need to interpret the news in the correct and the right way. Okay, so that's why it's not really easy. So this is some of his trade. Okay, this is 2 trade they took this week, right? The first one on USDCHF, as you can see, nice short. You can see the chart here in the Discord chat, 1-to-1 with me, right? It's true, and he got his TP at this level. He just cut earlier this trade, so that's why we need to improve all to keep his trade longer. But this is the beginning. We just start like 3 weeks ago, and look at the execution itself. It's crazy good because then the trade went in profit plus 1.05 here. Okay, same here on the 20th of August. As you can see, today is what, 22nd, 2 days ago. So that's why same plus 1.5. But it's not only about the result itself, it's about the process. Why did it decide to execute, let's say, a short on USDCHA first and then on AUD and ZD? You have the reason. Because in total it's plus 2.5 here. But you need the why, and the why is here. This is what we call the catalyst. He used 2 catalysts for both the trade. The first catalyst for USDCHF is the FOMC minute. Okay, basically you don't have any crazy change, okay, especially regarding Kevin Walsh positioning, because if you remember, Kevin Walsh doesn't really want to give any forward guidance, which is completely different from basically what Powell did until now, right? So that's why the market is still suspicious about what they can say regarding the FOMC minute to just better understand the decision itself, because Kevin Walsh doesn't give us any crazy insight. This is completely different. Still, the FOMC minute, let's say, was a bit neutral, little bit dovish, nothing too crazy. However, he executed the trade with a lower risk. The second trade, it's exactly the same, but for another data. This is the one I just talked about earlier. You remember the Austrian job report. You have the Australian employment change, okay, minus 15K, big surprise, versus 15K expected. And you have the reaction explained, okay, 22 pips down from this level to this level, okay, for USD. And you have the same with the Austrian unemployment rate. So basically the Austrian unemployment rate increase and the employment change decrease. So AUD/USD went down. And he executed a trade on AUD and ZD. Why? Simply because it was quite interesting to short the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar as well, especially regarding the antipodian view, okay? Because Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar are part of what we call the antipodian currencies. So basically it's not really difficult to make money. Once you understand how to take advantage of that, it's not that difficult. But again, context is something you need to stay updated with, because after 4 weeks of intensive work, okay, because now this is basically the 4th week, but it was like 3 weeks before the first execution on USDCHF and AUD/NZD for the student, we did a lot of work, intensive work, exercise, core. The initial execution are surgical. As you can see, USDCHF and AUD/NZD is definitely good. Of course, for USDCHF, he could have kept the trade longer. Okay, sure. But this is part of the improvement for the next months, because we're gonna work together for the next few months to trade 100% win rate and a gain of plus 2.5 year, which is definitely good. Most people cannot even make it in a month. Just imagine. In percentage, it's plus 1.5, and still plus 1.5% is really, really good, especially for beginner, right? This is quite crazy. And some people don't even achieve this kind of result in a month. Some people even in a year cannot even make it. It just took us 24 hours. More to come, of course. And then after that, to be honest, it's not only about the result itself, it's about the impact on his training journey. Basically, yes, of course, the P&L is up. Really good. This is your goal as a trader. You need to make money. You need to protect your capital, but you want to make money as well. This is your job as a trader. The confidence is increasing. There is no psychological issue, whatever. This is just excuses for the weak. You don't have to be a weak guy. If you know what you're doing, you have a proven system. You know how to adapt to the context. Making money is not really that difficult. And as I said, scalper, day trader, swing trader doesn't really matter, because you have sometimes opportunity for short-term period and sometimes it's for longer. So you just need to adapt, and he realized one's potential. Because again, in my opinion, everyone has a potential. You have a potential if you watch this video. If you're stuck since, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you're probably something. You're probably missing something. Because again, in my opinion, most people learning trading don't do it the right way. They're just spending time on pattern, spending time on technical analysis, or basic fundamental analysis such as the COT. Yeah, okay, the COT. But it doesn't give you any edge. You still don't know what's in the market. You still don't know how to turn a headline into a repeatable process. And again, it doesn't matter if you're a scalper, day trader, swing trader. You can make money. This is one of my students last year who just passed 100k FTMO account in 1 month. This is some other result, plus 10%. Same for this guy, crazy money again, with 17,000 US dollar in profit. Simply because we combine a professional environment with institutional data. Basically, we trade with real data, not a technical shot. We know what's in the market, and we can teach you how to interpret the market in the right way. Geopolitics, macro data, the flow, order flow, it doesn't matter. Because again, at the end, you're supposed to trade on your own. You're supposed to know what to do when you're in front of the market. So again, if you want to apply to learn with me in one-to-one, I put the link in the description. You just have to answer to 3 questions, because I only work with the top profile. This is not like a mass course or whatever. I don't care about it. I only want to work with the right people. You need to hard worker. You need to be an hard worker. You need to put in the work, because this is something really serious. This is close to institutional level. This is unique in this trading industry. So again, if you want to apply, I put the link in the description. If you have any question, feel free to ask, and don't forget to subscribe, because the value inside this video is definitely crazy.